Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Psychopaths and mentally unstable individuals. These are one of the few kinds of archetypes that many characters, especially in video games, can be defined as crazy, maniacal, insane, and many others, of course. So, it's in this video that we're going to be looking at some of the most popular and most, of course, memorable kinds of characters who define the aspect of insanity. This might get a little violent and a bit creepy, which of course isn't much of a surprise considering what kinds of characters we're about to look into, because, well, they are crazy. So yeah, I hope you guys are ready, because this is gonna be really, really interesting.
For my first murders, I chose the perfect targets. The perfect family. I chose his family.
Marcus, no!
Marcus doesn't live here anymore.
Please, no! Marcus, wait!
Shut up and bleed, you motherfucker.
Number 10. Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal. Known in early games as Needles Kane, he was once an ice cream seller named Marcus Kane, with a normal life and family, until his darker side convinced him into becoming a bloodthirsty serial killer, murdering his own family in the process and looking to search and kill his surviving daughter by entering the Twisted Metal contest and get his wish granted by the all-powerful Calypso, rumored to be some sort of god or demon perhaps. So, about the Twisted Metal games, the only one I've ever seen was actually the most recent one in 2012 actually. It was pretty great, story-wise and gameplay-wise I guess. It was pretty great to see that Sweet Tooth was the only main character. And yeah, the villain was also great, Calypso was. Of course, not familiar with the earlier games, but it was great. I love the franchise, love the character.
Pretty girls like you. No wonder.
You've done that to
Be a dream.
Number 9. Alice Little from American McGee's Alice. After being the only survivor of her family during a house fire, Alice was so traumatized to the point that even her own world, Wonderland of course, was corrupted entirely under the hands of the Queen of Hearts, whom she defeated and then restored her peaceful imaginary world from the darkness. It was then that she left Routledge Asylum, got a new job, and suddenly found out that Wonderland was being attacked by something else and set out to save it, as well as remember every little detail of the past house fire and learn the truth of the incident once and for all. So, I did love the Alice Madness Returns game. I didn't see the earlier one, but honestly, the take from the author, American McGee's, of the Alice in Wonderland, and specifically the story, was a pretty great one actually. Was kind of horrific and bloody, and all that. Crazy actually. But I loved it. I did also like Alice. Beautiful,
Everyone used to laugh at me. I was a walking punchline.
Number 8. Adam the Clown from Dead Rising. Out of the many psychopaths on the franchise, Adam McIntyre definitely left a big impression amongst players, and myself of course, in the first game nonetheless. When Frank got close to the Space Rider roller coaster, Adam came in while laughing maniacally and also juggling his two chainsaws with the intent to stop him from shutting down the ride, only to be taken down and killed himself with his chainsaws, ripping his stomach open and laughing uncontrollably until he finally died. So yeah, all the psychopaths in this franchise, they are crazy, they are bloody maniacal, and all kinds of things to describe psychopath to say the least. They were great boss fights though, so that's a cool addition to a zombie apocalypse game. So I liked it.
Cause, or some say cosm. Do you hear our prayers? No, we shall not abandon the dream. No one can catch us. No one can stop us now.
Number 7. Mikolash from Bloodborne. Once a leading figure of the school of Mensis, Mikolash spent his life trying to make contact with the higher beings, the Great Ones, by causing countless evil acts, turning him insane and allowing him to transport his consciousness into the so-called Nightmare of Mensis, until he is granted with eyes by the Great One, Kaz. Now serving as a host for a soon-to-be-born Nightmare and an infant Great One, the hunter has to kill him in an unusual boss fight sequence, to press forward and slay the Nightmare forever. So Mikolash was a very interesting boss fight, and as I said before, the sequence of his boss fight was pretty interesting, because he kept running away so many times, but eventually you got to fight him properly. And it was great though. The Bloodborne franchise was really great nonetheless. In this boss fight though, let me just say, he gives us quite a lot of good memes to boot, and that's one of the greatest things about him actually.
Now, I will show you why I am the most powerful practitioner of psychokinesis and telepathy in the world. No, there's no need for words, Snake. I'm Psychomantis!
Number 6. Psychomantis from Metal Gear. After being influenced by many and having to use his psychic powers for terrible things, Mantis will later on become a member of Foxhound and take over Shadow Moses Island until he decided to get in Solid Snake's way by tricking him into activating the weapon called the Metal Gear Rex, with a different activation key of course. After that, he manipulated Snake's friend, Meryl, into shooting Snake, but would later make a dramatic entrance by becoming visible, float in the air, and break the fourth wall of his powers, which, honestly, I think was a pretty nice touch for the character. Not only that though, but his overall appearance, like as a villain in general as well, and as a recurring character in the latest Metal Gear game was pretty great, except that it was in the past, which honestly was a surprise to me when I saw that. And honestly, I think he's a pretty great character. One of the ones that was able to break the fourth wall, of course, because those kinds of characters are always like the most fun. And that's what I think, of course. Have you met Deadpool?
Oh no! No, 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 no! Oh no, 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 no!
Okay, look, we both said a lot of things that you're going to regret. But I think we can put our differences behind us. For silence, you monster.
Number 5. GLaDOS from Portal. For anyone who has heard or played Portal 1 and maybe 2, out of all the characters in this franchise, GLaDOS was definitely the one beaming with personality and antagonism besides Whitley. Built as a highly advanced personality core fitted to be a central computer mainframe by the Aperture Science Enrichment Center, GLaDOS would later on become rogue in an attempt to kill everyone at the facility with neurotoxin, until a surviving test subject named Cell would stop her once, then twice, and had to work with her in potato form, because why not? But that also made GLaDOS become more human and a little more passive when she regained her position from the traitor being Whitley, of course. So yeah, the Portal franchise was pretty great, especially the fact that it connects to Half-Life, which, honestly, didn't get much development on that part, but, well, GLaDOS was pretty great. I loved her. Number 4. Kafka Palazzo from Final Fantasy VI. The first of many experimental Magitech Knights, individuals that gained the ability to use magic. Made by the Gestalian Empire, Kafka's mind was broken during the process, turning him into a malevolent harlequin who would later on commit acts of treachery, murder, and scheming secretly until he would betray the Emperor and seize the power of the warring Triad, so he could become a god so powerful that he could be capable of destroying the whole world if it weren't for the Returners to stop him completely. So this character was pretty interesting. Aside from Sephiroth, there have been a lot of Final Fantasy villains that have been very memorable like Kafka. And so, his other appearances from other games, like the Dissidia if I remember, well, they definitely did a pretty good job in the design. And his personality too. I think he's a pretty crazy character that's pretty likable among the franchise. Yeah, I like him.
Trevor, you're still banned.
What about these two?
Whoever wins gets banned.
He's one. Ban him.
I can't ban him. He's my goddamn husband.
He's young enough to be your son.
Ain't the internet a beautiful thing, honey?
Anyway, I saved your husband. Now give me a drink.
Number 3. Trevor Phillips from GTA 5. Probably one of the most psychotic characters in the GTA series. Long story short, Trevor's life was nothing but hell in the past, and yet it still feels like him, since he's been involved in criminal activities like bank robberies and had to fake his own death to lay low for some time. After all that, he would still show how unstable and murderous he can be, but that didn't stop him from becoming friends with Michael and Frank. Plus, he was able to make his own company called Trevor Phillips Enterprises, to make all kinds of illegal activities in a more organized but still chaotic way. I mean, come on. This guy, he's always gonna remain crazy, and that's one of the few points that is very important about him, actually. Almost about everything about him, you know? And that's pretty much it, yeah. He's a psychopath, and he's one of the most popular characters in the GTA series. Yeah, he's awesome. I think he's kind of awesome. A little crazy, but awesome.
How do you expect to find the culprit when you're all worried about each other's feelings? If you're planning to expose a liar, then you have to corner them psychologically. Only then will they reveal their true self as a liar, hiding beneath a layer of deceit!
Number 2. Kokichi Oma from Danganronpa. Imagine being stuck somewhere with a bunch of talented students, and you suddenly think, who's the worst kind of person you ever met? The mastermind behind Monokuma, or a self-proclaimed evil leader and pathological liar named Kokichi, the ultimate supreme leader? Yep, I'd say it's this guy, yeah. Of any characters that made a huge impact on the Danganronpa story, I'd say Kokichi did a lot more than a certain lucky student from an early game, because in the V3 game, he was what most people would call a trickster, someone who would use underhanded tactics, like lying intentionally to find the truth. just like what he did during the class trials. And yeah, he was a very big liar. That may have seemed annoying, but like seriously though, he was an intellectual though, despite his age. Like, he looks like a kid that just plays pranks, but he's actually much more than that. Now, and don't even get me started on the expressions he makes though. Jeez, those things are nightmare fuel.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
Number 1. Voss from Far Cry. The definition of insanity, huh? That's the one type of question that would either be said or answered by Voss Montenegro, born as part of the native Rakyats from the Rook Islands. He was later on the leader of a pirate faction working for the slave and drug trafficker Hoyt Volker. When the protagonist Jason and his friends got on a trip to the Rook Islands, they were captured by Voss, and that's when they realized just how overly psychotic and mentally unstable he really is, not just from his violent actions, but from the fact that he's aware of the lunatic he really is, as he talks about anything involving insanity, well, all kinds involving crazy actually. That just makes him one of the most popular kinds of characters on the insane category actually. Yeah, I mean, you see his face, you think of insane immediately. And yeah, despite not playing the Far Cry games in general, I can actually sympathize with the fact that he's a pretty, he's a big lunatic. And that just makes him more likable actually. I mean, come on. You can't just look at him and tell that you don't exactly like him just from his personality alone, or overall appearance. Yeah, that's about it. And that does it for a top 10 most insane characters in video game history. Did you guys have a fun time? Or I guess a crazy fun time, you could say? Well, if you want to leave a comment talking about that and all, just leave it in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you want, so you can stay tuned for more videos involving top 10 lists of characters and all things involving video games. Alright guys, as I said before, have a fun time, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!